Are we crazy, or does the national media just absolutely hate the Suns? It's another episode of Southwest Bias.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
Before we do anything, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. I want to remind you guys that Southwest Bias is brought to you by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. I've got Espo. I've got Bo Brack. I am Erik Ruby. Guys, it's an exciting time in the NBA draft and all of that, but no, the media just wants to say that Kevin Durant is unhappy and that the Phoenix Suns want him gone. So we'll get to the response to that in a second, but Espo, first off, is it safe to say that, I don't know, just the national media just kind of has a weird bias against the Suns?
Okay, well, there's a reason the show's named Southwest Bias, because there is an East Coast bias, and we need to balance that shit out.
Yeah.
But the primary offender here is Screaming A. Smith, right?
Oh, my gosh.
He has sat here and 2 months ago tried to tell us Devin Booker is going to be a Knick. It's not sources, but people are saying they're not saying, you know, all this BS that he did. Yesterday on Wednesday, he says, you know, I'm reporting that the Suns want out on Kevin Durant badly, all right? And then that's not enough. When the owner himself tweets, we're not trading Kevin Durant, on Thursday morning, Screaming A. Smith doubles down and says, I don't believe what Matt Ishbia is saying.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, well, guess what? I don't believe what you're saying, Stephen A. Smith, because your track record ain't that good when it comes to Phoenix, and it really feels like you're just trying to get that next big contract because you're a little pissed off that Pat McAfee's getting a little bit more than you and a little bit more attention.
Okay, Bo, are you a more calm head on this? Are we crazy?
I mean, I wish I was. I'm not going to be as animated as Espo, but I think he put it well. I mean, this is ever since the birth of any of our fanhood here in the Valley of the Suns, you've noticed the East Coast bias, and your beloved teams from the East Coast and teams from LA, once there's any kind of rumblings and now it's being manufactured, they're like, we want those players. We want them, you know, in our cities. We want them playing for the Knicks, the Nets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and that's just how it goes. I mean, remember back when Steve Nash, his run ended here in Phoenix, and then he went to the Lakers, right? Remember when the Diamondbacks, their run was over? They had a World Series already held down for the Valley, and then they started to fall off a little bit. They had some bloated contracts. Where does Randy Johnson go? The Yankees, right? Because there's the push for the big markets to make splashes like that. And I think that the people in the media, they absolutely understand that if you just kind of rally the troops, true or not, that they're going to get clicks and they're going to get interest and intrigue from mostly their side of things, right? And it's unfair to the Valley sports fan.
I got a conspiracy theory.
Oh,
no.
you have a conspiracy theory?
Tinfoil hat on.
No way.
Who did we hear rumblings? And we know it likely wouldn't happen, but rumblings about LeBron James coming here. You're ESPN. You don't want LeBron James in Phoenix. Right. You want LeBron James in L.A.
Yeah.
L.A. is the market that draws. L.A. is Hollywood, right? So how do you ensure that you squash those, that you potentially, squash the Bronny talk? By claiming that Phoenix is in disarray, right?
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith, big Knicks fan, right? When he doubled down today, he said, I don't think they're going to trade Devin Booker, but if Devin wants to go to the Knicks. But if Devin wants to go to the Knicks. See, I think in some ways that's what's going on here, because it's not sexy for First Take to scream about or talk about LeBron potentially winning a championship in Phoenix. But it's great TV to talk about them in L.A. with J.J. Redick for the next year.
And I think the thing that upsets me the most is, let's just take a guy like Book, right? And let's just kind of follow his career. When he first gets drafted, when he's still a rookie, everybody's so out on him national media-wise. You have people being like, I don't know really if he could do it. Maybe he could be a scorer off the bench. We just don't really see it with Devin Booker, right? Then Devin Booker gets really good, and then everybody's super wish-washy on him, where he's either next coming of Kobe or he's the worst player in the NBA, right? And now as soon as he's good and he's an asset, everybody's like, how do we get him out of Phoenix, right? Who was it that was like, I would trade Kyle Kuzma in a first-round pick?
Wasn't that Stephen A?
It was Stephen A. Smith,
yeah.
right? So this is something that it doesn't just happen at one spot, right? Like they don't just try to steal the stars. They try to underrate criminally all of the young up-and-coming stars, and especially the up-and-coming teams. You talk about even the Diamondbacks last year. They didn't get any of the national media coverage they deserved until they were knocking on the door of the World Series, right? And so it's almost rare to find somebody like a Marvin Harrison Jr. where it's like, wow, look at this prospect going to Arizona that everybody's so incredibly high on. But I feel like the NFL, out of all the sports, treats their markets more equally.
But the knock is still can Kyler Murray get him the ball? Well, there's still a knock.
And I was just going to get into this. It's just like the Arizona Cardinals as an organization, since they took over, the new regime, Monty Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon, all they've been doing is empowering and emboldening Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Like they've been doing it, everything short of going to the top of Camelback Mountain and saying, Kyler Murray is as competitive as they come, as talented as they come. He's going to work here. And then is last week, Colin Cowherd, right up there with Stephen A. Smith, is talking about Kyler Murray plays too many video games. That's what we're up against.
Okay, this is Stephen A. Smith. Turn your hat backwards like Eric. He's going to tell you you're going to be a failure.
Colin Cowherd does not respect this podcast right now because of your hat being backward right now.
That's fine with me.
I mean, unfortunately, in Cowherd's on the other coast. He's in L.A., and then you got Screaming A in New York, and everybody in between. Like, they're in their bubbles. And, like, you can't infiltrate their bubble if you are Phoenix, if you're between, like, to all the way to New York City. Like, they won't come out of it. Like, no matter what good you're doing in the sports world, they're not going to pay attention. You have to bang them over the head and say, hey, this is good. And your Marvin Harrison Jr., like, if he was playing in any of the bigger markets, his star would already be
that's completely
unbelievable.
fair.
The hype train would be off the rails. But now it's just firmly on the rails, and it's good for him. I think under the radar is good for the Cardinals and the development and maturation of Marvin Harrison Jr. But if he was playing for the Giants, I mean, we're already seeing it with Malik Neighbors. They're trying to make us to believe that he's the second coming of OBJ. Yeah. But he's just out there in shorts. You should look good in shorts.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just
I don't. That's why you'll never see me in it. But you brought up Stephen A. Smith and the Kyle Kuzma first-round pick. Where was he trying to get Devin Booker? L.A. in that situation.
Trying to make him go to the trying to get him to a big market. And again, trying to underrate the value of somebody being in one. But it's so funny because then you look at like a national media narrative the other way, right? You talk about ring culture and everything. But if somebody stays with one team, like a Dirk, right? And they win a championship after sticking one team, they're so praised. They're universally loved. But if a team... or if a player jumps around like Kevin Durant, they're universally hated. But right now, everybody's talking about, let's get Devin Booker to another team. Let's get Kevin Durant to another team. But the same way that, Bo, you were saying, it might be actually good for Marvin Harrison Jr. to be more on a low-key team. Espo, I've heard you mention a couple times that maybe it's a good thing that the Suns are being kind of treated like these underdogs. It's not going to work out anymore because when it was the opposite, when they first made all the trades and who's going to guard this, how is it going to work? Obviously, you look back at it now, like they underachieved for expectations. Is there a world where this type of spinning, throwing the stuff out there, like it pisses Kevin Durant off enough that he just comes back reinvigorated, ready to go? It pisses off the Suns enough that they just say, you know what? Screw everything else. We're going to go out and we're going to kick some serious ass this year.
I'll tell you who it's going to piss off, definitely. Devin Armani Booker. This is a guy that uses all this stuff as fuel. And he's been locked in the gym in Flagstaff since the season ended. This man is basically isolated himself at elevation trying to train here. And Kevin Durant's been in the gym. We've seen that. I think he's taking it personally. This team could very well benefit from this. And what kills me is we're told this is a dumpster fire. This team failed horribly. This team isn't worth it, and these players can't win. Yet all these other teams happen to want these two guys.
Yeah.
All these other teams think that these guys could be the answer to their problems. So why couldn't they be the answer here in Phoenix? They could. It's just not sexy to Stephen A. Smith and all these people. Like Stephen A., I challenge you. Come to my city. Let's talk. I'll fucking make you look embarrassed in this because you are really just grinding a vendetta when it comes to this right now. You built them up last season. Now you want to tear them down because you know what? It's good for clicks, and I get it. We're in the same business. I understand the realities of it. But come on, man. Especially, don't double down when it was proven by Shams, by Ishbia, the owner of the team, by multiple sources
Kevin Durant's agent.
that you
He's
are
using emoji.
wrong.
Yeah. No, like genuinely, you and also the fact that, and I think this is really important here, Stephen A didn't go, this is my opinion. Stephen A said, I am reporting this, and then reiterated, this is facts from what I'm hearing. And
From inside the Suns. Like the call is coming from inside the house.
But it's like, instead of the call coming from inside the house, it's, hey, actually the person inside the house came out and told everybody what was actually going on. Where Matt Ishbia puts out a tweet and it's just like, draft day is fun, isn't it, guys? Also, that's never going to fucking happen, right? And also, kind of back to your point, I'm laughing thinking of the idea that people have to check in with you when they come to Phoenix. It's like, hey, Stephen A just touched down and at Sky Harbor, who you got to check in with? You got to check in with us.
I don't need him to text me. I got people that will tell me that Stephen A is in my city, and we'll have a discussion.
Eyes everywhere.
All right,
Listen here, brother. Get him over here. Espo's music.
I am the MC Hammer of Phoenix, and go look that up. All right.
Okay, let's shift.
Come to
away
my
from that.
city.
I'm turning away from that one.
At least he's in hammer pants now. Before it was shorts, so it's an upgrade. He's got pants on.
That's fair. We're going pants
Big
to
baggy
shorts.
ones.
Let's just kind of touch on, Bo, last time that you were on and you talked Suns, you said that you didn't really believe in this current iteration. Now,
Correct.
It's not up for debate, as in we've had people come out and say who are involved, either Kevin Durant's side of it with himself tweeting, his agent tweeting, or Matt Ishbia saying, hey, this isn't going to happen. This is not something either side is looking to do.
Yeah.
But from a 30,000 feet perspective, you look down, a trade with the Rockets could bring a lot of assets, lots of picks, which is part of the reason why this whole conversation even started in the first place, plus some young players. Is that something that, everything else aside, you would be looking to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to have the conversation after you have all the powers that be come out and say, this isn't happening. But I'm intrigued by those deals. I mean, I think that because here, number one overall, I'm with you guys. Any way that the Phoenix Suns can hoist the title at the end of the season, that's all I care about. No, I don't care what it looks like. It could be the ugliest basketball we've ever seen. But if it gets the job done, I'm there. And then secondly, I want to see Devin Booker continue to grow his legacy. I'm not concerned about KD's legacy. And I think that KD is right now is your greatest asset chip that you could potentially churn this roster and improve Devin Booker's chances of truly getting a title. Because I'm standing firm with, I don't believe that this iteration of the Suns is the one to get it done. Like, when I see Matt Ishbia tweet yesterday and say, we're competing for a championship, I'm part of the crowd kind of like rolling my eyes at that. Because I just don't see the roster being nearly as competitive as it needs to be to get it done.
2 of the top 15 players in the NBA on this roster. Mm-hmm. They just had an unbelievable first round of the draft.
It's okay.
We have free agency that starts on Sunday that could lead to a few more names coming into the fold. Stop selling me on your hopium. I don't want your young players. I don't want your draft picks. I've been down this road. I've seen it. It doesn't work in a lot of cases. It didn't work here for a decade. I want to go with the star power, guys who have proven that they're at the top of the league, not hoping that I'm going to get a guy that will eventually get there. Give me at least 40 games in the season to see how this team does before I even consider making any move that dramatically adjusts the future of this team. Mm-hmm. Give me the season at least. Everybody that says the Suns have no future and that this could be a decade of disaster, this is a 2-year experiment because 2026, they're going to have one of the most cap spaces in the NBA to go big game hunting again. So if you can win it in the next 2 years, great. If not, you've got your out in 2026 and reset the table. But don't sell me on your hopium of draft picks and young players.
Well, I'm with you as far as like this team needs to prove it. Right. And you're not going to be able to prove it at the end of June. You're not going to even be able to prove it after, one pick in the NBA draft and then a couple more tonight. Right. Mm-hmm. and free agency. Like, I need to see it play out in October, November, and what this team looks like. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say that this team's a title contender right now either. So, I mean, when you talk about, 2-year experiment, that's potentially 2 years that you're taking prime Devin Booker away, an opportunity to build towards something.
Yeah, but you're
a title.
In your situation, you're taking 2 years of prime Devin Booker away from having the opportunity to really compete for a title.
But
I
see Shane and Dylan Brooks does not make you better than having Kevin Durant currently. It's the promise of future. But if you're talking legacy, if Book in his prime has a few more losing seasons where they focus more on their picks, that's all the narrative is going to describe about him.
Focus on your picks, but let's focus on building a more balanced roster. I understand that Kevin Durant, what he does for you, what is it, 27, 6, and 5, and what he's able to do, and he's going to be 36 before the start of the season. But I also see what he's kind of left, kind of a wake of destruction in his past. I mean, I see Brooklyn Nets team that was on the rise right before he comes to the organization. Sean Marks was one of the most up and coming general managers. He's gone. That whole thing is they're staring down a full reset button right now.
Look, he turned Oklahoma City, a wasteland of a city, into a basketball hotbed. The next place he goes, he's part of one of the greatest dynasties that you saw in basketball history offensively, and he wins 2 titles.
Didn't they win 73 games before he came there?
They wound up winning 2 titles, right?
He was Finals MVP in back-to-back finals.
Brooklyn, he's saddled with a guy that's afraid to shoot, and I'm not talking about Ben Simmons, right? He's afraid of shots, and that causes issues there. And still, if he has a half a size smaller foot, they're going to go to the Eastern Conference title game and probably face the Suns in the finals that year. Putting this anywhere near the feet of Kevin Durant outside of that shoe size is ridiculous to me. And I do not want Devin Booker to become Larry Fitzgerald. I love Larry. Greatest Cardinal of all time. But what a waste of a career. You could argue he was the greatest wide receiver ever because of what he did with crappy quarterback play for a majority of his career. But you know what? Never won it. Got there once, never won it. I don't want to see Devin Booker become that. I don't give a shit about his legacy being the greatest son of all time. I care about him being able to hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy and be able to say, I'm the greatest son ever because I helped do the one thing that we haven't seen here in 57 years.
I just don't think KD gives you the best chance to do that.
And it's a fair place to come from, and it's okay to agree to disagree on that. Before we kind of get it back to the media and wrap it up here, I want to remind people that this Southwest Bias is brought to you by Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, DFCU has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, locations all over the valley. I'm pretty sure they've hit 85 years now, but I think more than 84 can still cover that. Listen, they got the basics, your checkings and savings, whatever you want to keep your money with. But they also have mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, they have different designs for their Visa debit cards, whether it's Cardinals, whether it's ASU, or you can just get like a Mountainscape or something like that as well. All of that is a fantastic option. So shout out to our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. Plus, right now, when you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Just get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. And
let me say this, Stephen A., I'm signing up this weekend. I'm going to send you the $200. Get a ticket and let's talk.
I'll tell you
Come
what,
to my city.
Stephen A. doesn't need the $200.
He doesn't, but you know what? I'm happy to buy it for him if he wants to come out here and talk.
Yeah, if you're looking to give somebody $200, let's talk after this show. But, Bo, I'm going to tee it up for you.
Okay.
Your final thoughts on just the overarching view of the Phoenix Suns, Arizona sports from a national media perspective, from a guy who cares a little bit more.
Arizona sports overall.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's always going to fly under the radar. There's always going to be the East Coast bias, and we've got a large hole that we're in right now, and not the biggest shovel to dig ourselves out of it as far as the Southwest bias versus the East Coast West Coast bias. But look, Suns, if they do their work this offseason, they put this roster in better shape, they can be right there or continue to lead the charge for this area, these sports fans to continue to be proud of their teams. I think the Cardinals are on their way. The Diamondbacks, they're hot despite their loss last night. You know, they're a team that's trending in the right direction. So look, you still feel a little uneasy. Do you feel like close to getting any of the respective titles in the pro sports? No, we just lost our hockey team. times are tough, but they're not that tough. I think with some solid play and the seasons coming up between the Cardinals and the Suns, you can really change a lot of opinions out there and stop some of the nonsense conversation from the talking heads on the big networks.
You can try to steal my stars. You can besmirch my city. You can crap on us all you want. But I will put the fans in this town, the people of this state, above any of your elitist bullshit in New York and California. They're dedicated, they love these teams, and we will prove you wrong time and time again. So scream all you want, say whatever you want, but we're here doing the work, and we will continue to in Arizona, in Phoenix, and across this great state. So screw you and your bias.
If the question is, does the national media hate the Suns? My answer simply would be yes. But what's yours? Let us know down in the comments below. Again, reminder, make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports. It's that red button right below this video. If you made it this far in the video and you haven't subscribed, I'm questioning what's really going on here, right?
You're probably an East Coast elitist.
Yeah, and listen, if you want to subscribe and you want to, click on all the videos and tell us we don't know what we're talking about, that's your prerogative. You can do that as well. Just make sure you hit that like button while you are here. If you want to get more from Bo, especially when it comes to the Cardinal side of things, follow him on X/Twitter at Bo Brack. And of course, tune into PHNX Cardinals every single weekday at 4:30. You can follow Espo at Espo plus PHNX Suns usually at 3 o'clock. Plus, we've got a lot of draft coverage. If you missed that, make sure you go back and you watch all of that, especially stuff on Ryan Dunn, their first round pick. But until then, guys, you can follow me at Erik Ruby. Catch me on PHNX Sun Devils every single weekday at 1:30. Until then, that was yet another edition of Southwest Bias.
Ahoy, hoy.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.